If you feel off, but your labs are normal, this one's for you.
People often say something's just not right. And I don't know if you hear this a lot, but when someone says that to me, I'm wondering, what are they digging deeper? What are they actually sensing?
Yeah. Well, that whole just not right isn't a feeling. It's usually a sign of devitalization. And it's important to note that it's not normal. The body has lost efficiency, or maybe it's lost coordination somewhere. Even if your labs and diagnoses haven't really caught up yet, like you don't have the diagnosis of what this feeling is, it's a sign of devitalization.
So today we're going to talk about devitalization, or the 5-system breakdown.
That's right.
And just make something clear for me first. Are you saying that these are the 5 systems that break first? I mean, how many systems are there even? Are there more than 5?
No, and this is a really important distinction here. Most people are trying to heal in the same order their symptoms show up, and that's why they stay stuck. Because these aren't necessarily the 5 ways health breaks down or where the original interference starts. These are the 5 systems you have to correct first to restore health from the inside out.
So it's more about the order of healing than it is about the order of damage.
Exactly. And the body can be assaulted from lots of angles: poor stress management, toxins, trauma, antibiotics, poor nutrition. But healing works best when you restore systems in a logical sequence, the order of healing. And I call it filling up the cup first. You've got to fill up the cup of deficiency first and remove some of the things that are causing the interference in the first place.
This sounds like true holism to me. This approach of system-wide restoration is in stark contrast to the ad hoc, let's attack this broken organ. Mm-hmm. Let's have 5 physician teams who are each looking at different organs. In contrast to that is a systems approach. It's almost like bringing something back online.
If you have an individual specialist for individual organs, you're always going to look at it from a reductionist standpoint. You're going to look at reducing health down to the microscopic level without understanding how the body actually heals, and it heals in rhythms.
And so there are experts, for example, oncology experts who are world renowned, and people feel safer if they are with the world renowned expert. But if that's not the framework that you believe you heal within, it can be kind of a trap. And I don't want to disparage any experts whatsoever, but I'm just saying the contrast is really sticking out to me, that you can have an expert in a reductionist mindset, but is that your goal when it comes to healing?
Well, I don't even see it as the same thing. Like you have the oncologist or the endocrinologist or the cardiologist or the pulmonologist, and that person in that field and that system and the whole wings of the hospital are dedicated to the study of and the care of people who have said conditions within that scope. But how that actually plays out is then the endocrinologist comes in with a patient who has, let's say, system-wide failure or cardiac problems, and it's affecting the endocrine system or the kidneys, or the nephrologist or the kidneys. And the person walks in and says, well, the kidneys are at 80% function or 60% function or 40% function. And there's a snapshot in time of something that is currently a very dynamic process. Mm-hmm. And how that actually plays out is this person is the expert in the field. And so they're going to give their perspective. But that perspective is typically some type of prognosis of what to expect. Mm-hmm. And that turns out to be some type of foretelling with that prognosis of what that family should expect for healing. And it sometimes puts a lid on capacity. It puts a lid on opportunity or what could actually happen there.
Your trajectory is siloed at that point in time.
Yeah. And it's not that it's bad people or bad intentions. It's just we have so much knowledge that knowledge can get in the way. This is what B.J. Palmer used to talk about: educated versus innate. That you want to actually use more of your innate brain instead of your educated brain when it comes to health and healthcare decisions.
Humans don't like that anymore. We want everything to be predictable and known and convenient. an unknown is very inconvenient. Trusting your intuition, trusting where something is leading you instead of a predetermined outcome. But let's get back to the systems, because I think people want to know this. What's the 5 system breakdown? What's the first one that not breaks down, but that you pursue healing within?
That's right. Yeah, so you got to start with the nervous system. So before we break down really the nervous system, we have to really look at an example of what this looks like in real life. And if you've ever felt like you're just one small inconvenience away from totally losing it, I think the story would probably resonate with you. And I had a practice member here recently who came in anxious all the time, tired all the time, big mood swings. And she described herself as constantly on edge, like she snapped at her kids. The emotions were right at the surface, so close to the surface. It felt like she was going to cry at any given moment. And she had already spent a lot of money on testing and hormone work and blood work and all of it. And she was told by a expert, your labs are in the toilet.
Well, that's discouraging. I mean, it doesn't sound super actionable. I'm sure that's not all he said, but it's discouraging.
Well, that's what she heard.
It's discouraging to feel desperate and then be told really bad news.
But of course her labs are a mess and they're in the quote unquote toilet. She had every sign of a nervous system that was not feeling safe anymore, constantly guarded, constantly braced. And then telling someone in that state that their hormones are quote in the toilet, that doesn't help to someone who's in nervous system disarray. It actually reinforces that there's a threat. Now your body is a threat. It's breaking down and it's not in your control. So I think this is important because if we were to look at this from maybe not a system-wide breakdown approach, from more of a reductionist or allopathic or quote unquote medical model, we might start with treating hormones. Because our hormones, if you were to do all the tests, the hormones are the ones that stuck out. And it's like, okay, so out of everything, the hormones are the worst. So let's start with hormones. That might be logical using educated brain.
And that's what we're hearing about all the time now is, all right, females, your hormones are completely off. And if we can just get them back, you're going to have a different life. Like your life will be radically different. You'll have different relationships. You'll enjoy life again. People think that their lack of joy is because of this hormone disruption. And I'm not saying it is or is not true. That's just what we're being told.
Or your hormones might be contributing to the problem, but this is why we don't start with your hormones. You don't stabilize hormones in a body that's living in survival. So we started where the breakdown happens first. It's the nervous system. We checked our nervous system's function. We ran an HRV study, which is heart rate variability study in the clinic. It showed clear sympathetic dominance, which is no surprise. But what was interesting is that with the dual temperature readings, you can actually see something deeper. You can see that it's not just stress, it's an adapted state. So this is an adapted state of sympathetic dominance, which means this has been going on for a long time, but also there was a trigger that really flipped it into now the nervous system is in a state of, okay, I'm adapted and this is my new normal if nothing's done.
Is it possible to know if her hormones are the reason she was in adaptive state?
Well, her nervous system had learned to live this way. This is not her natural state. This was a protective one. And this is what the HRV study showed, is that this was in a protective one. And regardless of why, we can get really introspective of why or what caused and what was the trauma that initiated it, which we know there was a clear trauma in this person's case. And it wasn't a physical trauma. It was a harsh emotional one. I don't want to get into her story that deep today, but we can get really introspective about the past and stay there. But the goal is to move forward. The goal is not to continue to live in that moment of this is what caused it. Now I'm a victim to this thing that happened to me, and now I'm trying to survive. No, it's a step outside of survival mode and actually thrive.
So you start with the master switch then. I mean, that's the key is look at, are we stuck in survival instead of adapting? Is that, the master switch system?
Well, it's a system that regulates and controls adaptability and regulation. It's her spine, it's her circadian rhythms, it's the eating windows, because all three of these send powerful safety or danger signals to the nervous system. So before you ask the body to quote unquote balance hormones or detox or even heal, you have to put it into an environment or tell it that it's safe to do that.
So is it fair to say that the nervous system and having it in check is the precursor to resilience?
Exactly. Not because it's the only issue, it's because it's the gatekeeper. If your nervous system isn't regulating properly, nothing else is going to integrate well. And you can take all the right supplements and eat all the right foods, but if the nervous system controlling everything is stuck in survival, the body won't prioritize repair.
And what does that practically look like? Is there an indication where you're like, ooh, this is...
So this person I was talking about, we originally met, and she had sent a long email about all the symptoms that she had, a very long email, and literally dozens of pages of tests. And I said, I want you to tell me what you're feeling, not what they told you that it is. I want you to tell me what you're feeling. And she said, I'm tired all the time. I spend 10 hours a day in bed. She has 6 kids. And she said, but I still am tired, exhausted, and I'm snappy and I'm on edge. And it's not me. It's just not me. And that's an indication. I mean, it's right there, wired but tired, poor stress tolerance, shallow breathing. She said, I can't take deep breaths anymore. Muscle tension, trouble sleeping. That's not that someone is lazy or that they're lethargic. It's a nervous system stuck on high alert.
Yeah. And that's not a character flaw. And I have to say, I mean, I don't want to diminish it at all, but I'm not there chronically. But if my 2-year-old skips a nap, I'm there pretty quickly. It's just like, oh, I'm on edge. Oh, this is too much because her nervous system's too much. And it's getting myself in check to say, oh, my nervous system's supposed to help hers regulate, not hers derail mine.
Oh my gosh. You know how many times I'm meeting with somebody and I'm getting convicted because it's dynamic. It's not fixed. It's dynamic. It's
responsive.
Yeah. And your nervous system, listen, there's seasons where your nervous system is in a more heightened state. Like when
whole seasons.
And well, I don't know, maybe whole seasons. Does it have to be whole seasons? No, you can recognize it. But I remember when we were writing the book and I was waking up at 3:30 to do the audiobook, and because our deadline got moved up by 15 days. And so I was like, oh, crud. And it was over Christmas break, for the kids, Christmas break. There's no Christmas break once you're an adult. But for me, it was like, man, this is a time to be with the kids. And so I was like, had that tension of the kids being on break and then dad not being around because I'm doing so much. And I'd hired a couple new team members and training a doctor. And like, I felt myself being more on edge with the kids. And it's like, you have to recognize that you're in a moment of sympathetic dominance, which means you are more susceptible to quote unquote catching something, although you don't catch something, but you're more susceptible to expressing health and a purge and a reset because your body will go into a reset to protect you.
Right.
And so that's the idea of sometimes you go in a reset and you become so wired or so tired, but you're also wired because your nervous system is begging for you to not be in danger anymore. It's trying to get you out of that danger response. But it's our jobs to recognize, hey, part of that is me not bringing my phone into bed. It's part of me not having a spine that is constantly have nervous system tension on it, that I'm not feeding myself toxins, that I'm not eating after dinner, that I'm not waking up and eating waffles. But this is part of it.
When's the last time you had a waffle?
Well, I'm just thinking of patience right now. I don't eat waffles.
It's good. So it's getting out of the high alert stuck phase. Mm-hmm. Number 1, nervous system. What about number 2? I mean, I can imagine, I don't know. Tell us.
That number 2 is cellular energy. What were you going to say? You can imagine what?
I was like, just the order of where do you go next from nervous system? Like I picture nervous system as being so dominant because it's webbed throughout our entire body. And it's like, what else? What else is...
Well, here's the reality is when you address cellular energy, you're still addressing the nervous system.
Cells are all over the body too, just like the nerves.
Well, and nerves need nourishment. And this is where most people are running on fumes. You can't heal if your cells don't have the raw materials to produce energy.
Mm-hmm. So once the nervous system is addressed, you go address, would it be fair to say mitochondrial energy? Is that cellular?
I want to pause here because the nervous system never stops being addressed. It's a layered strategy. So you're still addressing the nervous system and then you're layering on top. So each one of these things is a layer, not like a check of the box.
Okay.
So yeah, the nutrients and cofactors that are required for metabolic pathways to function, things like minerals and B vitamins and amino acids and fatty acids, all of which also play a role in your nervous system's function.
Right. So if you're feeling depleted or inflamed, I mean, we hear about inflammation so often and then wondering, why is nothing working? Mm-hmm. Why is my diet clean, but I still feel arthritic? So it's that mitochondrial function with essential nutrients.
That's right. Well, and most people know if they followed or listened long enough that I teach a food first approach. So when you minimally process your food and it's in its whole form, you'll get most of the minerals and cofactors and enzymes, et cetera, in their whole food form. But the problem is that I can't even say the word unprocessed. I have to say minimally processed because unless you grow your food on a regenerative farm, you are going to eat food that is somewhat processed, even minimally.
Right. I mean, even it's hard because when you say food that is not processed, like whole foods, mm-hmm. even ground beef is processed. It's been ground.
Exactly.
But yet it's from a cow. And then you have ground beef that is from a conventional farm, a grass-fed animal that was fed a whole bunch of hormones and antibiotics. Now you have an unnatural environment. Mm-hmm. So that means that beef has been altered in other ways. Mm-hmm. So there's an altering of almost everything we come in contact with, but there's a desire to have minimally processed. That's where I think the trap with making the barometer or villainizing processed foods can be really stressful for the average person because the goal is that it's closest to its natural state. I mean, it's a lot easier to discern that because if I cook something, it's processed now. It's not in its natural state, but cooked vegetables are good for you. Cooked meat is good for you.
Yeah, minimally processed. That's the idea. Minimally processed, closest to its natural form as possible. Okay, so when Adam and Eve or whoever were cooking around a campfire after they fell out of the garden, kicked out, whatever, after the fall of man. Whoop,
after
plop.
they fell out of the garden.
It's good, whatever.
That's a new one.
Were they eating processed foods because they were cooking their food on the fire? No, it's not. It's minimally processed. So let's not get into the weeds here.
Okay.
That's the idea, is that you want minimally processed food, and really, again, going back to make less bad decisions. Get away from the ultra processed junk food that has very little evidence of actual food. Like it's not real food anyway. It's ultra processed junk.
Right. Is there anything living about this food? Is it live nutrients or is it in a cardboard box on a shelf for years with added ingredients and preservatives? I was listening to a hearing yesterday, a policy hearing, and the pork industry rep was arguing that it's horrible to take BHT out of school lunches because BHT is a preservative in pork because it's in all pork. And you have a regenerative farmer on the committee sitting there like biting his tongue saying, I produce pork without BHT. Like,
why did he bite his tongue? Why did he not say anything?
He said something, but it's hard to, when you dedicate your life to clean food for your community and then someone sit here and say, poisons are inevitable, just accept them.
Well, that's what they said about glyphosate, which really brings us to system number 3, which is restore the microbiome. They said that about glyphosate, about you have to have this in order to feed the world. And glyphosate, by the way, is in Roundup, and it's the thing that causes leakiness of the gut and a whole host of other problems. And that's why I'm talking about it here. But they said that you have to have this. And so many of the farmers are like, you don't have to have this. And we feed entire communities, and there's lots of examples of that. But we're not talking about the microbiome in like the trendy way, because the microbiome is not about digestion. It's about immune signaling. It's about nutrient production. It's about inflammation control, even neurotransmitter in the brain. brain balance. That's the microbiome that we're talking about right now.
So this comes after energy support.
Yeah, well, and here's the deal. You fill up the cup, even though I want to be clear here because there's some people who are functional doctors or they've heard me teach this in the past, and they're like, wait a second, I thought that you didn't start to fill up the cup until after you restore the microbiome. I want to be clear about this, because even if your microbiome is problematic in a big way and you have a leaky gut, and yes, you're not going to absorb all the nutrients that you eat or supplement with because of leakiness of the gut, a depleted body doesn't rebuild the terrain well. So when energy improves, the gut responds better, and that's inside out logic. And typically restoring cellular energy only takes a couple days or weeks until you transition to a gut heavy focus. But remember, you don't stop getting good, healthy raw materials. It's a layered strategy. Just like you don't stop doing nervous system work, it's a layered strategy.
I have to quit saying after because you're saying, no, Leah, this is building. This is built upon, not checked off.
Yep.
That's good.
Well, and the same thing with microbiome and restoring the microbiome. You can't really separate that from the liver. So this goes right into liver congestion and detox pathways, because detox has been, I would say, overly simplified. And it used to be complicated, and now the pendulum has swung to having 4-day detox kits being sent in the mail and advertised. And you see these things and these 7-day cleanses. And the liver isn't just removing toxins, it's processing hormones, it's managing inflammation, it's recycling nutrients. And when detox pathways are congested, everything backs up. And I'm not minimizing the impact on a 4-day detox cleanse or some of these kits or juice fasts and stuff like that. But when you are intentioned to remove the toxins that the liver is absorbing and liver is having to process, and then you start to open up the pathways, now it can start healing from the inside out. And that's really the intention, is to restore the liver function, isn't to attack it with these aggressive detox kits. It's to remove what's getting in the way from it detoxifying itself.
That's fascinating, because reestablishing the body's detox pathway instead of forcing things out. Because I think people picture, and even myself, that things are just stuck there. And that's what you're saying, is they're stuck because of the flow, not because toxins cannot come out.
That's right. They're stuck because, not just because they're bound. And that's why a lot of people start with like binders and stuff like that, and to try to bind heavy metals. But if the detox pathways are not open itself, it's maybe impossible to bind something that the body's not releasing.
Can it be harmful? Because I've seen people do heavy detoxes and then have a cascade of events.
Mm-hmm. Well, exactly, because it's about reestablishing flow and then trying to force elimination. It can cause Herx type reactions,
disruptions.
That's right. So you got to support the liver. You got to support the bile flow, drainage pathways, so the body can do what it was designed to do. And that's the good news, is that it's actually designed to release. It's designed to move. It's designed to detoxify. Even your skin is designed to detoxify itself.
Even sweating. Maybe sweating can help with our liver congestion.
It absolutely helps with the liver. There was a practitioner at one of the conferences that we were at who, he makes a lot of money off of like detoxification type stuff. And he should, because he works really hard and these things have helped a lot of people. But he stood on that stage and said, I want to tell you, sweating is your best detoxification tool. Mm-hmm. Not one of my tools that I have, sweating for just 20 minutes a day. And do you remember him saying that you were at the conference? What did he say? It was better than what?
He said 20 minutes of sweating, a single session, 20 minutes of sweating is more effective than 30 days of being on detox supplements.
Isn't that incredible?
And I think he was specifically talking about chlorophyll supplements. But 30 days of that removed less toxins from the blood than 20 minutes of sweating.
And he had evidence because of his
he has
lab.
a research lab.
That's right. That's right.
So number 5.
You want me to say it, or you want to say it?
I don't know it.
Hormone support. This is where people just jump straight to it, but this is downstream expression. And Hormones are usually where people start, unfortunately. I say unfortunately just because if it worked, I wouldn't say unfortunately. If they were getting better and it was long lasting and they didn't chronically suffer with what they believe to be chronic hormone disruption, then I would have no problem with people starting with hormones. Philosophically, I'd say I don't agree with that because that's not really the order, but it works and whatever. But the problem is that they end up suffering for really a long period, sometimes even decades, and that's because it's backwards. They're chasing a moving target. If hormones were the root cause of the problem, hormone replacement would be working a lot better than it does. Hormones are downstream. They reflect what's happening upstream in the nervous system, in the energy pathways, the gut and liver.
And I think this might be why people have trouble getting off of hormone replacements. So not just for a season, because once you get your hormones back in balance from an outside in approach, you can't ever taper because the underlying issues were never resolved. I mean, they still exist.
Right. Yeah.
If your liver is congested and it's still congested when you go off of those, it's frustrating. It's a frustrating experience.
That's right. Yeah. So once people have improved the environment that they're operating in and you do that, hormones then can stabilize. And it's actually not nearly as forceful when you follow that specific order. Now, I do want to say this, that every body is dynamic. And so the amount of time that you spend, like if we're doing an actual one-on-one work with somebody and you can't really apply this exact frame, like you spend more time maybe in filling up the cup with nutrients with some people and energy pathways. And then on some people that you spend more time with gut and you go through this whole gut restoration if they actually need that because they have leakness of the gut or they've taken an antibiotic that destroyed their microbiome and you have to replenish the microbiome. Like there is, obviously within this, there's customization, but this is the order to think about how the body heals and repairs itself.
Well, it's powerful. Even if you're not going to do it for yourself without guidance, it's powerful to have the understanding that there's an order of healing and that the layers build on each other if we're looking at the body as a whole, as an ecosystem, as a smart ecosystem, instead of chasing symptoms or isolated problems.
Right. This is about restoring order, nervous system regulation, cellular energy, microbiome health, detox flow, and liver cleanse, and then hormone balance. And when you restore it in the order like that, your body has long-lasting effects. It has memory. It's a layered strategy, so it's building on itself. And over time, you're building an inside-out approach. You're building an inside-out, really healing.
So what would you imagine if that person who feels like something is just off, something's just not right, what should they take away from this episode? What would you hope they take away?
Don't start chasing the symptoms. Don't start chasing the blood work. Don't start chasing the things even that your practitioner of choice has identified as labs that are abnormal or that these symptoms that are the squeaky wheel right now. Go back to what is disrupting your circadian rhythms, your sleep. What are some of these indicators of your daily activities that are causing nerve system disarray? Look there first and go through thoughts, traumas, toxins. Every thought captive, toxins that you get exposed to, and traumas that you've experienced that are causing your spinal stress and spinal tension and stress needs to be addressed. That's why that's one of the reasons why I recommend everyone should have a neurospinal chiropractor in their corner. One of the reasons why I created the Chiro section on Dr.Wilson's, Dr.Wilson/Chiro, to find a good neurospinal chiropractor near you, because I believe that everyone deserves to have someone like that in their corner.
Yes, they don't fall prey to the thought that their body is warring against them and they have to respond with war, to attack symptoms, to believe that their body is broken. And that just isn't the case. There are options. It's not simply that women go into menopause 10 years earlier now and stay stuck in it and are never the same again. We need to look at the order by which healing happens and honor that instead of attacking ourselves.
And healing always happens. Healing isn't about doing more stuff. It's about doing what makes sense first. Remove the interference and let the body do what it's supposed to do, which is restore.